Ooh, this is exotic. Muscle Cat Media. Nice. Cultural.
Friday on the Expats, time for the weekend pickoff. Rolsey, Eric, and Spoon, the gang all together. And look, we've been talking about this for about 12 months because we know it's going to come to a head. We're just going to jump right into it on a Friday. We don't waste any time. It's the pickoff. It's meant to be rapid fire, though oftentimes we end up rambling like I'm doing now. Look, we knew the CBA was coming. And over the last couple of days, some news has started to trickle in from both sides. The ownership group has kind of gone to the Players Association with some things. The Players Association has rebutted. It seems like both sides are balking, unless you've been living under a rock. I'm sure you've seen this, but obviously the most recent news is the MLB Players Association have essentially knocked back any thought or any hope of having a salary cap. The owners went through today with asking for both a salary floor and a salary cap. The salary floor, I think, is a great idea. The salary cap, I think, is going to be tougher. And as Eric and Spoon join me here. Spoon, I'll start with you on this because you and I were going back and forth a little bit earlier this morning, and Eric actually has a pretty unique take on this as well. But sort of what are your early thoughts about the news that's trickled through with the CBA?
I'm surprised that the initial offer with the floor was as high as it was, especially given that comes from all the franchises, and some of them, I mean, the Marlins payroll was like 70 million, right? Like this proposal, if that floor came in, is they'd have to double their expenditure. I hope it leads, I mean, I think we're a long way off a deal, but I hope if something like that gets through, it does lead to some teams changing hands and owners coming in that just genuinely want to compete, as opposed to just like farming the revenue split. And, you know, effectively a lot of these small budget or payroll teams just make a lot of money from selling Aaron Judge jerseys when they're not even on their team. So I think addressing some of that and bringing in some owners with a little bit of intent will only be a good thing. So from that front, I think it's a positive that it wasn't just some ridiculous first offer where you can see how far apart the sides are and we're really never going to get anywhere and we might get a lockout. But I still think fundamentally, as you said, that the players are going to be very against any kind of cap, full stop.
There's two things on this before Eric will come to you and get your thoughts. A, I do think it's a positive that the teams are talking this early because obviously the collective bargaining agreement doesn't end until December 1st. Nobody expects that there's going to be a deal done before December 1st. But I think it is good that the two sides are talking because we've had instances like this where the two sides wouldn't even speak to each other. The collective bargaining agreement runs out. That's how we get lockouts, right? So I think it's a good sign that the sides are speaking. But B, with what's been proposed, we have to remember it's a collective bargaining agreement, right? And the collective is not only the two sides, but it's the game of baseball. So if you do the math, by bringing this salary floor in, the owners are essentially agreeing to a 50-50 split with the players in terms of revenue. So it means overall, players are going to get paid more money. There's going to be more money allocated to players' salaries across the league. That's what's going to go up. The problem obviously is that you have these 6 teams that are in excess of what that salary cap would be. And those are the 6 teams that we've been talking about, saying that's the faction of the ownership group that is not going to be in the same camp as these other, quick math, 24 teams, only a few of which are currently within the floor and ceiling window that's actually being proposed. But I think for the collective, I actually think that the salary floor is a good thing because, again, players are getting a bigger slice of the pie. It's just obviously the big market teams that are spending a lot of the money that are going to have to be the ones that are convinced, and obviously the players are going to have to be convinced of that as well. Eric, what's your sort of take on the early stages of this?
Well, I've always been in favor of a salary cap. I think it just creates such an interesting dynamic in any league. And you have a feeling that the MLB one will probably be more like a fluid cap, like the NFL is, right? Like the NFL cap increases on whim. There's so many avenues for teams to restructure contracts, release players, get cap relief, carry negative cap from past players, and really try to go all in, balance that with rebuilding years, try to maximize value off of rookie deals, which is what happens in any league, including baseball now, in terms of how you go about players and percentage of caps. You get more creative trades, you get more bad signings, But really, for me, the exciting part is I'm a big prospects guy. I love minor league baseball. I love the developmental leagues. You and I are part of one, Rolsey, in that too. I think it's going to put more emphasis on what already is a very strong developmental system that MLB has compared to other leagues in terms of the popularity of it. But it's going to make teams have to be more sly and more savvy with their partnerships they have in leagues around the world, with how they develop players, knowing that you're going to have to be very economical with your players. And what's cool about MLB and baseball is it's like, one player doesn't change the game, right? I mean, in the NHL, one draft pick, first overall, can be a generational talent that literally changes your team. In the NBA, you get the first overall pick. You pick a player that literally is on the court representing 20% of the players that can turn your team in 2 years from worst in the league to going to the NBA finals or on the cusp of it. Baseball's different, right? Like, it's more of a team sport in terms of the aggregate than anything else. So I don't think the salary cap is going to be a sky is falling thing at all. I think it's going to really emphasize culture, development, and finding prospects and players and even more strategies than before. I'm super excited for it. It's inevitable. We'll see what the ceiling ends up changing to, because obviously they've started with an offer that they know the players, there's going to be some give and take. I'm excited to watch this unfold. But yeah, I'm happy that they're negotiating now too.
I just really hope we don't lose baseball. Like, if you go back to 2020, they had an opportunity to play almost a full 162 game season, and ultimately they met in the middle effectively on a lot of the key issues. Then we lost 100 games of baseball, and it was an opportunity to be the only sport playing in the world effectively outside of the Premier League in Belarus, which I was staying up late watching because there was nothing else to watch. And I think a couple of the Asian baseball leagues kept going too, but there was an opportunity there to get so many eyeballs that typically weren't interested, right? Because you had a shutdown on all the other US major sports. Right now, it feels like the sport is in the best place it's ever been, as far as the product is so watchable. The
Globally
ABS has been a
accessible.
success. Yeah, like I think it's in such a great spot right now. It'd be a shame if the second time in a decade, billionaires fighting millionaires ends up costing the fans a product that's, I think, the best it's ever been.
Bang on. And it's a terrible PR look, because really it's just the top end players that would affect the salary cap, or the really, really rich teams that are actually going to spend the cap. It would be a shame to say we lost a year of baseball because player rich X that's making $70 million a year doesn't want to make 50.
Yeah, like a Bryce Harper, for example, is so against the salary cap, right? But this isn't about the 0.1% of guys. It's about everyone else, and
Yeah.
it's about the fans.
Curtis Mead's going to be making a lot more money off of this, right? He's on $900,000 a year or whatever it is, the league minimum, now starting to be an everyday player. Like, his salary will increase because there's going to be values for our guys like Curtis Mead, who are, that 9th, 10th player on the roster, can play a couple different positions. All of a sudden, he's going to make a little bit more too.
Yeah, and that's where I'm not really taking a side on this. I just want them to get a deal done. I don't care how it looks. My biggest concern is losing baseball at such a critical time, again, where it feels like there's so much momentum. I mean, even you watch the NBA finals right now, the conference finals, there's been 2 close games. There was a sweep. Even the game 7 we're about to get between the Spurs and OKC, there's been 1 close game. The rest is a disaster. You've got Adam Silver on live TV shows defending the officiating when everyone knows it's the worst it's ever been. Like, it's not a good product, basketball, right now. I think baseball's got such an opportunity. I've seen it with friends of mine who have started watching baseball and listening to this podcast and getting amongst it when the NBA finals are on right now. To lose that momentum would just be a disaster.
Hockey does such a good job with their salary cap. I love it. And now they're starting to increase it, so players get paid a little bit more, which I think is a good thing. But you really have seen teams have to, in the last 20 years now, in the salary cap era, invest in the organization. And those seem to be the teams, unless you're cursed like the Leafs. But in general, Carolina has traditionally spent to the floor. They're consistently good, but they also invest in all those little tiny things, and you make teams win the 1%. It's an engaging product. That's why NHL popularity has grown. I'm not saying it's mainstream like the other sports in the USA, but it does create a very competitive product in which teams can go from good to bad to good to bad again and keep things in with a sniff.
It's an interesting point that you make too, Spoon, because You're right. It's almost like the top 5% of players are the ones that are so against this, and half of those guys have contracts that they earned because of previous performances and actually aren't playing to their contract, right? We could sit and name guys all day long. We were talking about one cough cough Kyle Tucker before we came on air, but I mean we've spoken about that on this program quite a bit. But the young guys are the ones that could really benefit this because I mean, look, if you look at it right now, there's just over $6 billion allocated to player salaries in Major League Baseball right now. But the average player salary on opening day this year was 5.3 million and the median player salary was 1.4. So Major League Baseball is essentially saying we're happy to raise the league minimum to nearly be that 1.4, which means player median salaries are going to rise, average player salaries are going to rise. And if all teams were in the middle between what the proposed cap is and the proposed floor is, the amount of actual player payments per year will go up by about $500 million. So the player collective probably actually does benefit from something like this happening, but it's the guys at the top that are making the 50, 60, 70, 80 million dollars a year that are going to be the ones against it. So it's an interesting point because it's one that I've not really considered because we've been talking about these different factions of ownership groups sort of infighting within each other. But yeah, a guy like Curtis Mead is probably sitting there going, this doesn't seem like such a bad thing to me, where a guy like Kyle Tucker is going, please God, no, don't do this.
Yeah, and that's why it's probably so complex compared to existing discussions is we basically got the rich owners and the not so rich owners and the rich players and the not so rich players who all kind of want different things, right?
Yeah, and it's why there's people much higher than our pay grade that are sorting this out. But yeah, I'm with you. Look, I think we all just want baseball. It's been so enjoyable to watch this year. And look, hopefully we don't get a strike. But again, we did have a strike the last time that a salary cap was probably the biggest ticket item in Major League Baseball. So let's cross our fingers and hope that doesn't happen. Another thing that we've been talking about a little bit in the last month on this program is something Eric brought up last year. And every time we bring it up, Eric's not on the show because that seems to be another theme that we have. We should do a when is Eric not on the show theme team. It's just Eric Ballnar at every position. We'll plug that in and see.
I don't think I've missed a show in May. Come on.
Yeah, but we just haven't talked about this since you've actually been on the show. But last year, Eric proposed something to us, and Spoon and I couldn't remember what it was. We kept trying to regurgitate it, but kept getting it wrong. But Eric, I'm going to give you the floor because there's something that equates to the end of May and playoff teams that the correlation year on year is quite scary. So we're going to see if we can find some teams that may find their way in and teams that may back out of a playoff spot. But remind us again what that statistic is that you dropped on us last year, and we'll see if we can pick some teams.
Yeah, so on average at the end of May, which is about 60 games in the season, 100 left to play, almost all of the teams every year that are in a spot at the end of May make the playoffs at the end. On average, 1.4 teams, so one or two, let's simplify it, but 1.4 teams are that are in a spot now on May 31st. It's May 29th where we are, so we're kind of close to that day. Are on this in a playoff spot on this date, end up missing only one. So you can take a look at the 6. Obviously, the expansion increases more opportunity. And if you take a look at recent times, that's pretty accurate. So remember, 1 or 2 teams each league that are in a spot now will miss. So if 5 of the 6 or 4 of the 6 are going to be playing playoff baseball. So 2025 at this moment, the Yankees, Tigers, Mariners, Guardians, Twins, and Astros were in a playoff spot. Out go Minnesota and Cleveland. In came Toronto and Boston. And in the NL, the Mets, Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, Padres, and Giants were there. In came the Brewers and the Reds, and out went the Mets and the Giants. In 2024, in the AL, it was 2 teams again. So Yankees, Cleveland, Seattle, Baltimore, KC, Minnesota were in a playoff spot. In came Houston and Detroit. Out went Seattle and Minnesota. And in the NL, only 1 team got swapped out. So at this point, Phillies, Brewers, Dodgers, Braves, Padres, and Giants were in a playoff spot. The Mets bumped in, the Giants bumped out, which means you take a look at the standings now, and it guaranteed 4 of these teams are locked in. 2 of these teams are in jeopardy, and 2 teams will come in. I'm going to add one more dynamic, though. Last year, at this time, the 2 teams that finished with the best record in the AL and the NL, the Jays and the Brewers, were out of a playoff spot and below 500. So there's a lot of baseball to go. So not only could a team get in, they could go to the top. So 2 points on this. 1, Someone's going to surge and get in the playoffs. One team for sure. The other one, four of these teams for sure are in a playoff spot, locked in. There's not going to be much movement. So knowing that with 100 games to go, I would like us to run a little bit of a vote. And we'll do it for each league. We'll start with the AL. We'll do a bit of a draft because that's what we like to do. We'll start 1, 2, 3 across the screen, drafting a team that is currently in a playoff spot that you think is going to be the team that drops out of the current 6 playoff spots. Can we start with that? And then we'll reverse snake draft and do the team that gets in. And then we'll vote and we'll determine who's in and who's out collectively on the pod and locked in a pod pick about which team is screwed.
Done.
All right. So we'll give Rolsey, we'll go Rolsey, Spoon, and then myself. I'll go. That's the way we'll go in the order. So the AL playoff spot right now, if you want to pull up the standings, you got the Rays, Guardians, and Mariners as your division leaders. The Mariners are under 500. The Yankees, White Sox, and Blue Jays in the wild card, and no team is more than 6 games out of a playoff spot. So this thing is wide open. So 4 of these teams are safe. 2 are at jeopardy. We'll just keep it simple with 1. Rolsey, which team in these 6 is going to be out of the playoffs?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It took until August 6th last year for the Chicago White Sox to win their 29th game, which is absurd, right? August 6th is when the Chicago White Sox won their 29th game last year. They're 29 and 27 this year. Can they sustain it? I don't think so. I think the obvious team that's probably going to drop out in the American League is the White Sox. I like the story, but I don't think any of us see the White Sox sustaining this. I mean, if Murakami hits 80 home runs potentially, but he could even be trade bait at the trade deadline. So I don't think the White Sox are going to sustain this as fun of a story as it's been through the first couple months of the season.
The White Sox have been nominated. The votes will determine whether we agree or not. Spoon, nominate a second team.
Yeah, I mean, I think the White Sox stand out, but I think there's just as much an argument, and you mentioned it, the Mariners being there purely on division leadership, but being below 500. I don't see anything about Seattle that makes me think this team's going to suddenly come really good. I mean, Cal Raleigh had a historically poor start to the season, and they're just getting mixed results from everyone. No one seems to be able to click at the right time, and some are zigging and some are zagging. I'm still a believer in the team I thought was going to win the AOS at the start of the season. I still think they can do it, and that's the Texas Rangers. So I know we'll talk about who's going to jump in later on, but you could easily make an argument as well that any of the other AL West teams can run down Seattle right now at 28-29, winning the AL West. I think if we're ever going to see an 80-win team make the playoffs because of division standing and maybe even open up a debate about whether winning a division means anything and should guarantee you a playoff spot anymore, it could be this season with Seattle. So I'm happy to nominate them.
And I will nominate the Blue Jays, but it's kind of funny because had they been out of a playoff spot and they lost this morning, I probably would have nominated them for a team to get into the playoffs. But, they're below 500. The other 3 teams are kind of well above 500 in the Guardians, Rays, and Yankees. So the Jays are the logical one. They also are so injured. Like, it just says that they could potentially fall off a cliff. Or they get a bunch of guys back and they surge up the standing. So I'll go with the Jays. So, fellas, consensus here. Let's pick 2 from the AL. Who's bumping out of those? 4 teams are safe. So we're going to say Rays are safe, Guardians are safe, and we're saying the Yankees are safe. So one of the Jays, Mariners, and White Sox is safe. Just say it. 1, 2, 3. Say the team you think of those 3 teams will be safe from the playoff acts. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Jays.
Jays.
Yeah, I agree with that. So there's your 4 teams that are in the playoffs, the Jays and the other 3 division leaders. So the White Sox and Mariners statistically going to miss. Who are you going with your replacement teams? We can go reverse order this time. So I'll start nominating a team. We'll let Spoon have his day with the Texas Rangers. But for me, I'm going to go I really wanted to go with this one, but they didn't look that good today. But I still think the Baltimore Orioles have a chance at sneaking in at sort of a wild card team. We liked them preseason. They haven't been terrible. They haven't been good. The AL's so mediocre. They're only a game and a half out right now. All I'm looking for is a team that has the pieces to go on a hot streak, and I feel like that's the O's, so I'll nominate the O's.
Yeah, I actually like the O's more than the Rangers, to be honest. I'm with you there. The Rangers point was just about how uncertain Seattle's position is, as opposed to them necessarily being the team to run them down, because I declared the Astros dead, but they're hanging in there, and Yordan Alvarez is going to hit 70 home runs this year. So I think there's a few teams that could knock Seattle out. I still believe in Baltimore.
The only thing that I worry
Rangers,
about
though, is that your pick?
Well, but look, the only thing I worry about with Baltimore, and I think I was going to pick Baltimore as well because it seems like they've been too bad to be true, but like their pitching is a problem. So they're going to have to nearly hang in long enough to be buyers at the deadline because their pitching has been woeful. I mean, I think last time I checked that they had allowed the most runs in the American League. They may have allowed the most runs in baseball. Now, the only team that's allowed more runs this season is the Colorado Rockies. So that's a problem for Baltimore, even if their offense does pick up. That's a bit of a worry. So you feel like for them to make the playoffs, they're not only going to have to hang on, but they're probably going to have to be buyers at the deadline to get a little bit of pitching, which could happen. But that's my worry with them.
You're right. They've allowed 297 runs.
Yeah. So not only has their offense been sputtering at times, and I mean, look, they've been a little bit banged up, and they're starting to get some guys back, but that pitching staff's either Kowser's going to have to continue hitting walk-off home runs when the opposing announcers say that he's incapable of doing so, and he's going to have to do that every home game, or they're going to have to go get some pitching, I think. But I mean, that was going to be my answer as well, despite everything sort of staring at you saying this is going to be an uphill climb. I still, for whatever reason, feel like Baltimore can sneak their way into the playoffs.
Yeah, so you're not even nominating. We're just going to lock in the O's and the Rangers and say goodbye to the Mariners and the White Sox from this playoff.
In the last 2 weeks, the O's have gotten back Adley, Tyler O'Neill, and Jackson Holiday. And in the next 2 weeks, they're going to get back Cade Povich and Dean Kramer in the rotation. So I think the fact that they're 2 games out of a playoff spot right now, they have not been good at all. And when they've lost bad.
Yeah.
They're very similar to the Blue Jays in the term of, it's amazing that they're even competitive right now. You compare it to a team like the Mets, who have had such a bad start that you can put a line through them. The AL being as open as it has been, I think works to their favor. And with the guys that they've just gotten back and the guys that are coming back, I think you can get 450 about the Orioles to make the playoffs, which I really like.
Well, you can lock it in. That means that the Mariners are missing to the Rangers. 2 teams got to miss. 2 teams will make it. Let's move over to the other. Now, we can do the nominating 2 teams, but I'm, for the sake of this argument and the speediness of this show, the average is 1.4 teams, right? We just did 2 from the AL, which means statistically only 1 team is going to surge in the NL and 1 team is going to miss from those 5. So let's hear the nominations of who's going to miss. The standings right now, the Braves, kind of nice, healthy leaders in the NL East, Dodgers in the West, Brewers in the Central. I don't think anybody's that surprised by that. The wild card is currently the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Cubs, with the St. Louis Cardinals half a game out on a 4-game losing streak and lost 3 of 10. So of those 6 teams, the Cubs, Padres, D-backs, Braves, Dodgers, and Brewers, we'll start with you, Spoon, this time. Who is most likely to miss?
For me, it's the Padres. I kind of thought their early run was unsustainable, and their recent form has suggested that it is. They still haven't had a particularly strong schedule yet, and it seems like they don't have the injury excuse that a lot of other teams do. So if I compare them to, I know the Cubs, a lot of their guys are not coming back for the year, which definitely hurts. But you compare that to the Diamondbacks, where in the next month you're going to see Corbin Burns, AJ Puck, and Justin Martinez come back. Jordan Lawler is going to be coming back. They've called up a couple of rookies who are both producing brilliantly to start. It feels like a much more sustainable second half than the Padres, who, I mean, Tatis still hasn't hit a homer. Like, where is it coming from? The turnaround, if we're not already starting to see it. I think they've been carried by a couple of maybe unsuspecting heroes like a Gavin Sheets, but if that's going to remain their best hitter when we're talking about this in July and August, I'm not sure that they're going to hold on when they're still going to have to play a lot of games against the other strong teams in the National League to close out the season.
Rolsey, who are you making a case for to miss? You cannot
Y-
choose the same team Spoon did.
Yeah,
the
well, look, I don't
Diamondbacks.
think that we're going to
You
have
can choose
three
the Diamondbacks.
teams. I
You
don't
shouldn't.
think we're going to have three teams from the NL West, so I'm going to have to choose the Diamondbacks because I don't think it's going to be the Dodgers that miss out, but I don't think we're going to get three teams from the NL West, because they'll all beat up on each other, and because I think the NL wildcard race is going to remain pretty tight, at least through the middle of summer. I mean, it always sort of seem to get teams that pull away sort of, once the calendar turns to August. But it's just a matter of who comes in for them. And I mean, I probably am a little bit more high on the D-backs than I am the Padres, just because it's like, if not now, when are those bats that, were meant to, I mean, Nick Castellanos is essentially carrying the Padres offense at the moment. And it's like, who on earth would have thought that? Well, except for Gavin Sheets, who was doing it the last couple of weeks during Destiny Draft and no one picked him. But that it's a Padres team that I just feel like I can't really trust at the moment. They are getting some pitching back, but I mean, I would have said the Padres as well, but just because I don't think we're going to get three teams from the NL West, I suppose I'll have to say the Diamondbacks. Sorry, Spoon.
I'll nominate the Cubs just because they've played such terrible baseball and they've been pretty inconsistent, but they haven't been good very late. That Cubs fan base is tortured anyways. It would be classic for the Cubs to have a season of expectation and miss. But I think as much as you want to look at teams that are capable of going on hot streaks, which the Diamondbacks have proven they are, which makes me feel a bit more comfortable with them, the Cubs have shown they're capable of playing bad baseball in chunks. And that doesn't bode well when the culture can just change in a week and you lose 6 of 7 and out you go, especially in a Central that's proving to be pretty competitive, right? Like there's a lot of good teams. Everyone's above 500 in that division. I know they don't play each other as much, but I think the Cubs, I was probably going to pick the Cubs because I think the Padres just have higher end talent to begin with. So my nomination will be the Cubs. So we do have a vote, though. It is a democracy. Diamondbacks, Padres, and Cubs are up for the axe. Only one team of these is going to miss the playoff spot. On a countdown of 3, 2, 1, say your name and they will be axed. Are you ready to go?
I thought we saved a team on 3.
No, this time because only one team is missing. 2 teams are safe this time, so we're eliminating one.
Okay.
Got to play into the 1.4
This
stat.
could sound like a jumbled mess when we say it all at once.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cubs.
Padres.
All right. Democracy speaks. The Padres are missing. And congratulations to the Cubs and D-backs. You're playing playoff baseball. Team most likely to get in.
I'll start paid out on all my Diamondbacks futures now.
Good. Yeah, it's that.
It's official.
The one I'm looking at to get in, though, is the Phillies, right? And they're starting to come good. But for me, the big one is just the runs allowed, right? They've only allowed 240 runs. That's been going down recently. Their offense has been bad, right? They're one of the lowest scoring teams in the NL, but even that's starting to come good. The crazy stat for me with the Phillies is they're 15-11 on the road and they're below 500 at home. And you know that's going to change. Like that's an aberration. The Phillies are only a game and a half back. They've won 3 in a row now. They're a contending team. They've already had that culture change in getting rid of their manager early. So I will say the Phillies will be the team that will surge into the playoffs.
Yeah, they definitely scare me. And I think you look at the runs allowed getting better. Zach Wheeler coming back's been a massive part of that. And they've got the NL Cy Young winner running the rotation now as well. Lozado, I think, is going to end up having more good starts than bad starts at the end of the year, despite an ERA that's inflated right now. They definitely look like the clear bolter.
Give me someone else, though, for an argument's sake. Who could be the other bolter if we were going 2 teams?
I think the only 2 teams that can get in are both from the state of Pennsylvania. I think the Pirates are massively underachieving based on what their numbers are showing. I mean, if you believe in the Pythagorean win-loss, they're 3 wins worse than what their record should be. Their run differential's plus 23. They're losing a lot of close games. I think their record in close games there's something like, I don't know, they're like 7 games below 500 in like 1-run games or something ridiculous, right? And they went on a bad run recently, got swept against St. Louis. But like we know that pitching staff is good. They've got a lot of young guys that are fun. And if they're good as you get to the dog days of summer, the people in Pittsburgh are going to come. Like that ballpark's already been way more fun than probably it ever has been, right? Like it's one of the most beautiful ballparks in baseball. And all of a sudden now people are going to it. So I was going to say the Phillies as well, but I think of all the teams in the NL Central. I mean, is the NL Central good? I don't know. There's probably a bunch of teams that are just slightly above average. But like going down the stretch with the Pirates pitching staff, and then imagine Skeens getting into a wild card series, like it would be must see TV, right? So I actually think of the teams in the NL Central, and if the Phillies aren't the team to come in, that probably the Pirates, based on the way that sort of the numbers look, at least through the first 60 games, are probably the most likely of the NL Central teams to come in. And I'm a
I
Cardinal
like
fan.
that. Are we putting a stake in the Cardinals?
I'll go rogue. It's not going to be the Cardinals.
The Rockies?
The Washington Nationals. I wasn't wrong last year. I was a year early. This year, they've got the best offense in all of baseball.
I think you might have been
and
2 years early.
It's been spread amongst a lot of guys that are like just killing it. I mean, you look at the numbers from James Wood, the numbers from CJ Abrams, Jacob Young, our boy Curtis Meade started to really find his way. The massive concern, obviously, is the pitching. And I don't know how to wave a magic wand while I'm trying to do this and suddenly make it a better rotation than it is, because no one's scoring more runs than them and no one's conceding more runs than them. But if you were going to assume a team's going to figure one side of it out, and we're talking about that with the Phillies, I think you could maybe make the same argument for the Nationals, and they've both got the same number of wins right now and they play in the same division. So I don't think the gap between the two of those teams is as big as people think, albeit I don't actually think they're going to get in. You just both picked the more logical options.
I've got an off the board one for you in terms of if you take a look at the teams that are in the playoffs now, in those top 6 teams, all of them are near, except the White Sox, who are an aberration completely, but all of them are fairly solid in runs allowed. And that's key. Like the Jays have got hot because now they're not allowing a lot of runs. They're pitching their way out of trouble. It's no surprise that pitching wins championships. Take a look at your Texas Rangers pick. They've allowed 215 runs, which makes a great case of why they could surge into that spot. You take a look at the lowest runs allowed in the National League of the teams that are outside of a playoff spot, the Phillies at 240. That's what concerns me about the Nationals, is 310 is terrible. But the New York Mets, the pitching has been fine. 243 runs allowed. It's not that bad. It's in the upper part of the league. Their run production is 214, and they have probably the highest ceiling of all the teams to start scoring some runs, and their pitching could probably get a little bit better too. I don't think it would be crazy. They've been so bad now, though, for almost a full season. But could the Mets go on an 8-game win streak and work their way back into a playoff conversation?
No.
If it was any other team having the same season, yes, but because it's the New York Mets, no.
Why not, though? What about how the Mets were on May 15th, 2024?
There was a much better team vibe. Like the vibe about this team is terrible. I won't be surprised at all if they're selling.
Yeah, this is what happens when you miss episodes. You miss out on the Vibe X metric, or the X Vibe metric that Spoons created, or the X Magic.
They just need
Grimace.
Grimace.
Magic,
they need
I
Grimace
think, was
back.
one that he created last year, and there's no X Magic and there's no X Vibe on the Mets, so that's why Spoons put a pin through him. But no, I mean, every time I watch that team play, like it just feels like lethargy, right? It feels like they're just going through the motions day after day. So I would have to. It's almost like you would have to see a 10-game winning streak to even consider the Mets, and at that point, you're probably still on the fence.
What price would you give them to make the playoffs right now? I've got it in front of me.
I mean, you wouldn't give them anything good. They're so bad, man. Like,
what price would you take, Eric?
I would need like 7s or 8s.
They're $5.50, which I agree feels like unders. And in comparison, the Nats
with stolen money,
the Nationals are $10.
I wouldn't take a flyer on it, right? Like I would take a flyer. I mean, all I'm asking is a flyer team. Like, do I think the Mets are going to make the playoffs? No. The purpose of this conversation is to try to identify a team that might have some value to back to get in, because somebody is going to get in. So, I mean, I guess we could turn this into a gambling thing. Like, 55. Of the teams we mentioned that are outside of the playoffs right now, I mean, we made a case for the Nationals. We made a case for the Phillies. We made a case for the Pirates. What are their odds of getting in?
The Phillies are $1.55. So
you're not betting that. You're not touching it.
No. And because of that, you've got the Diamondbacks at $2.40 and the Padres at $1.70. So they're the bookies are assuming the Phillies are going to take one of those two spots. You've got the Pirates at 295, which is next just behind the D-backs. And then, the Mets at 550, Nationals at 10s.
So that's also another way you could approach this, is that statistically only one or two of the current teams in the playoffs now, these 6, are going to miss. And if you're telling me the Diamondbacks are paying $240 to make the playoffs and are in a playoff spot right now, I mean, statistically, one or two of the teams are going to drop. Metrically, it looks like the Padres or the Cubs. Like, getting over double your money for a team that is probably going to make the playoffs feels like good money. It's like last year when I made bank on the Jays winning the division when they were like 5s and they were in first place.
Yeah, well, I've got 5th of May, back the Diamondbacks to make the playoffs at 340, 19th of May at 380, 20th of May at 340, 22nd of May, 330. Kind of been riding this the way to where it is now. Fortunately, that's coincided with winning 13 of the last 15 games. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with where that's at. I probably maybe missed the boat to offload a little bit on the Phillies at $2 and potentially have that as a little insurance piece. But look, all I wanted for the Diamondbacks was to be above 500 when the 3 best pitchers on the roster come back, and they're all 3 or so weeks away.
What about Baltimore or the Rangers?
Rangers are $2.20 and the Orioles are $3.30. I guess that's because the Rangers don't need to win 85, 90 games. They just need Seattle to be worse than them. The Orioles actually need to be one of the 3 best remaining
the 3
teams
of
in the
us
American
could
League.
put some baseball players together and potentially make a run in the American League wild card. So that probably has something to do with it as well.
And the Jays and Mariners would be below too, so I'm guessing.
The Jays are $1.86.
Don't like it.
Mariners are $1.31, which is madness.
That is insane.
White Sox are $3.35, same price as the O's, which is quite interesting. Given we're talking about them being a definite dropout candidate, they're getting a bit more respect there than, I mean, the Cardinals even. The Cardinals are $4.30 now, and the White Sox are $3.30. So if we're saying one team's early start is sort of unsustainable, but the other one might not be, it's surprising. But yeah, I think it's a much flatter market in the American League than it is in the NL, and that tail's a lot stronger than it is in the National League.
I think so. The best value might be the Nationals, but the best bet is probably the Diamondbacks still.
I think so. I still think 240 is a great price.
Thank you for working through this thought exercise with me.
We'll revisit it at the end of September.
We'll have to replay it when we're 12 out of 12 on who our playoff teams were. Well, look, let's look ahead to the weekend. Some good matchups this weekend. There's something like 6 divisional matchups in baseball, which is rare now because of the stupid balanced schedule, but that's a different soapbox for a different day. Go back and listen to the last 85 episodes of this if you want my rant on the balanced schedule. So Spoon's got a few tips for us. I don't know if we're going to do multi-madness today like we did last week. Spoon had about 17 picks if you weren't with us on Tuesday. He had three different guys to get 6 strikeouts, I think, at one point, which maybe we'll never be revisiting again. But Spoon, where are we going first? Let's go to Marlins Mets. So one of those aforementioned divisional rivalries for your first best bet on the week.
Yeah, it's probably, strangely for a Saturday, there's not a lot of pitching matchups that I'm like, yeah, really keen to sit down and watch that. I think we've seen a lot of aces go in the last couple of days, and the way the schedule's just lined up, tomorrow seems to be a lot of sort of B and C grade starters. But I'm really excited for Freddie Peralta and Max Meyer. I think that's clearly the best duel on the slate. And I was very surprised when I was clicking buttons and playing around with things as I do that both guys to get 5 strikeouts is paying $1.90, which tells me that come tomorrow, we're probably going to get a 2 in front of it when the combined strikeout markets come out, and we're looking at 11 or more between the two guys. I think if that's 210, 220, and it likely will be based on these lines, that's a really good play. Freddie Peralta's continued to kind of do what was expected of him, but I think Max Meyer has been one of the biggest breakout starting pitchers in baseball this year. He's honestly outperformed my guy, Ayuri Perez. He's outperformed Sandy. I mean, he's got a 2.52 ERA in 11 starts with a whip that's just over 1. He's got 6 or more strikeouts in 4 of his last 5 starts, including 9 against the Twins. The one thing that does scare me with this, and I'm going to say it and I'm going to do it anyway, and I'm probably going to regret it, is he made his last start against the Mets. I always am cautious of a pitcher when they're backing up in the same matchup, usually advantage hitter. Usually they can make the adjustments and at least not strike out as much. But look, with how dominant that outing was, he went 7 innings for 1 hit, 0 runs, and 8 strikeouts. I don't exactly need him to repeat that. I just need him to be on par with roughly where he's been all season. The other side of that coin is I've done it a lot this year. If you're taking strikeouts against the Marlins, it's one of the more interesting setups in baseball because their top 3 guys just don't strike out at all. Xavier Edwards, Liam Hicks, and Otto Lopez are just like really pesky, annoying Soto light types of stay in there, foul off heap of pitches, 7-8 pitches, and then they don't strike out. But the 4 to 9 guys just strike out a ton. So you really want to at least get through the lineup twice to have a chance. But the way Peralta's been tracking recently, I think that's a good chance. His pitch count's been really healthy, and if he can just get through those top 3 guys without giving too many pitches away, I think we're looking pretty good for 11 between those two.
It's a pretty similar setup
watching
to
strikeout races.
It's a pretty similar setup to the Cardinals at the moment. Like the top 4 in their order are actually hitting the ball really well, but 5 through 9 have been atrocious. The Marlins, interesting enough, are the only team, and largely it has to do with those low strikeout numbers. They're the only team with 3 players in the top 20 of the Destiny draft leaderboard, which is insane. Like if and we've talked about it, but I think if I would have given it, without having known that, if I would have given you 10 guesses about which is the only team that has 3 players in the top 20,
I would not have guessed
there's no way you would have picked the Marlins, right?
No. And I'm usually pretty good at guessing things, and that would be off my radar. They would not be in the top 20.
Well, and it's funny because as good as like Ketel Marte has been in the last week, like he's not even in the top 20, right? And like Ildemaro Vargas is the only Arizona Diamondbacks player, and like they're another one that I probably would have thought with how as good as Vargas and Marte and Carroll have been. And Corbin Carroll's number 83 in Destiny draft, right? It's just because he's gotten hot. Yeah, he's gotten hot recently, but it's funny how pesky those guys are. Hicks, Edwards, and Lopez of the Marlins, and again, the reason why they are so high on that Destiny draft list is because of the lack of strikeouts. I mean, you go to top 40, you expand that, and Max Meyer's in the top 40, so the Marlins have got 4 guys in the top 40. Maybe that's a team that we potentially should have brought in.
Just to deep dive those strikeout numbers, the league average strikeout rate this year is 21.9. If you look at those 3 guys in particular, Otto Lopez, 15.4%, Xavier Edwards, 11.6%, Liam Hicks is at 9.3%.
Unreal.
That means if he's averaging 4 plate appearances a game, he's striking out once every 2.5 games. Like he has been phenomenal with making contact. But
flip it over the other way in 60 games.
Yeah.
Stupid.
But flip it over the other way. You've got everyday players like Owen Casey, who strikes out 41.6% of the time. That's twice as much as the league average. And Esteury Ruiz, 34.1, Christopher Morel, 36.5, Joe Mack, the catching prospect they brought up, 31.1. So it really is rocks and diamondbacks as far as making contact and avoiding the strikeout. But those 3 guys are clearly key. And I think something to watch as well over the next few weeks is if 1 or 2 of those guys get an off day or one of those 2 guys need a 10-day IL stint, whether that gets factored into the right extent on a strikeout total against the Marlins, I think you can play up with a bit of confidence if those 3 pesky hitters aren't there.
Owen Casey would have 9 Destiny draft points this year, just for reference for those who are wondering, which is absurd.
41 points.
Just to get back to this. Marlins Mets, Max Meyer, Fastball Freddy, each to get 5 or more strikeouts in the Marlins-Mets game tomorrow. The second bet, we're going Padres-Nationals. And look, we haven't exchanged notes, but I would expect maybe this has something to do with Lucas Giolito, who's looked pretty good in his 2 starts back, potentially maybe thinking he can carry that on, or are you looking more Paxton Schultz way in this Padres-Nationals game?
I'm actually going neither. I'm actually going to lean into the fact that, as I said before, the Nationals are the best scoring team in baseball, but they're giving up the most runs. The over-under there is 9. I think it's a little low. It's a hitter-friendly park. There's so much home run power in this Nationals team, and it seems like they're not hitting solo shots. Like they are here and there, but there's often guys on because of how well-rounded the offense has been. Lucas Giolito is bottom 10% in percentile for whiff rate, strikeout rate, exit velocity, chase rate. He's pitching to a lot of contact. His numbers are inflated from where they really should be. Like his expected ERA is over 1.5 higher than his actual ERA. I actually think he's due to run into what is a bit of an offensive juggernaut right now in the Nationals. But by the same token, the Padres are going to enjoy some of this Washington hitting. Like, it is not. Washington pitching. It is not a consistent pitching staff at all. Their bullpen's been as bad as their starting rotation has. And there are guys on that team that, we talked about just before, are hot right now, like Castellanos and Gavin Sheets, with the upside that any day now, Fernando Tatis is going to hit a home run. And any day now, Manny Machado might start playing like the, perennial all-star that he is. So I think 9 runs is quite low, especially given we're probably going to see the Padres winning that one. So we should get a bottom 9 from the Nats, and hopefully that doesn't mean Mason Miller's coming out when we need a run or two. But I think there's runs to come in that one, so it's a nice straightforward play. I think we're going to see a lot of balls in play.
What's Tatis to hit a home run?
We need to guess 550, but it should be more.
When do we start
650.
avalanching Fernando to hit a home run?
This is the weekend to do it. If there was a weekend to avalanche Tatis, just even half a unit, right? Because then your outlay would at worst be 3 units. You go half. Well, no, it'd be just over 3. Half, 1, and 2. Why not?
I'll tell you what I like. He's $2.20 for 2 or more total bases tomorrow. That feels like a much safer play because he's not striking out. He's hitting the ball. He's hitting the ball into the ground. But obviously he hits a home run. That's home and hosed. But he's still finding the gap. His last 4 games, 4-2, 1-2 on total bases. If he gets a couple of singles, we get the job done. Like, I think, maybe even a little total base ladder. Like, I don't know why you'd take 650 about a home run when you can take 475 about 4 total bases. And he could do that with 2 doubles or a double and 2 singles. He hits leadoff. He's going to get a lot of opportunities on the road against the Nats. You're right. Tomorrow could be the day.
And he's going against ABL legend Paxton Schultz. Could be the time to make it happen.
Total bases.
I'm back, baby. I'm going to, I'm not recommending this one, but just for fun, I'm going to go a unit on the total bases with a top up on the home run.
You're as mad as a cut
like it.
snake.
I wonder what you get if you go James Wood and Tatis to both hit a home run. You get $24.
I'm on it. I'm going to do it.
Could be fun. And Manny, who's only hit a couple, throw that in there. You're at 111s.
And Nationals, and and Padres over 10.5.
Yeah. Tomorrow's the day. That game, it won't surprise me at all if that game's 10-9.
I'm doing this right now.
My worry for the Nationals is just that, yes, while Giolito probably his expected ERA is higher, like he's always been such a great ground ball guy. And he's induced. I mean, I don't know if you could even find the figures, Spoon, quickly as to where he is in sort of ground ball percentile this year. I don't even know if he would qualify because he only had 2 starts. But that's probably where I worry a little bit for the Nationals, is because like he's done that in his first 2 starts against the A's and I think want to say maybe Seattle in his first start, where it was just ground ball after ground ball after ground ball, and you get lulled into that. And if he gets extended out past 5 innings, where he's had the last 2 starts to 6 or 7, and he's just inducing ground balls at the same rate that he has for the last couple seasons, that might be where you get yourself in trouble. But at the same time, the Padres could go up 9 on their own. So,
yeah, I mean, it's a small sample size, but the last 5 years before this year, Lucas Giolito's launch angle average was 15, 18, 12, 18, 16. This year it's 25. So the ball is getting hit more aerially so far, which maybe does tie into some of those expected stats not being as good as they are.
Yeah, so I mean, look, it looks a good bet. So just to recap, Max Meyer, Freddie Peralta to both combined for 5 or more in the Marlins-Mets game. And Spoon asking for runs, praying for runs. May it rain baseball points in the Padres-Nationals game, over 9 in that one. And Eric's going to have a little bit of Fernando fun. He's going to take 2 or more total bases and top up with Fernando to hit his first home run of the season. I'm going to be so angry if Fernando Tatis Jr. hits a home run tomorrow. I'm going to be upset.
Guys, if we opened, and we will on Monday, if we opened a few packs right now, and Fernando Tatis is in one of them, are you drafting him?
I am. If he hits a home run, I will perform the first ever Destiny draft trade in order to move up to guarantee that I select him.
If you had to guess, and this is a good segue because we're going to do Destiny draft on Monday. Make sure you tune in on Monday for our second draft and begin round number 2. If you had to guess, don't look it up, don't pull it up because it is on the website. Where would Fernando Tatis be ranked among all Major League Baseball players in Destiny Draft total points right now?
64th.
He's 297th.
So
that's what I was going to
say. That's not good.
Is it? Has he been striking out more than I realized? Because I feel like he's still doing stuff.
He's got 52 hits and 51 strikeouts. So his entire 36-point total is determined on the runs he scored and the 16 runs that he's driven in. He has scored 36 points to be 297th best.
He's batting 260. Like, that's crazy.
But it was worse.
Man, I don't want to slander one of the most exciting players ever, but if you look at the numbers from before his PED suspension and the numbers afterwards, like, it's hard to deny, right? I know he said he had ringworm and he was taking antibiotic cream or whatever, but like the pop is gone.
Maybe he needs to get another worm. Maybe it was the ringworm that was giving him strength.
Yeah, should have never flushed that out. Needs a new worm guy.
Players scoring better currently than Fernando Tatis Jr. include...
No, we don't have time for 293 players to be listed.
Giovanni Moran of the the Boston Red Sox. Fernando Cruz, which how many innings has Fernando Cruz even thrown for the Yankees? 23, outscoring Fernando Tatis Jr. Heliot Ramos, who's not even on the active roster at the moment for San Francisco, has scored more points than Fernando Tatis. So, look, it puts it all in perspective when you look it up. But no, yeah, we don't have time to go through the 296 guys that are ahead of Fernando. It is interesting though, because that's sort of what we talked about while we were doing the draft, and now looking ahead to doing it again on Monday is. You see a big name and you're inclined to take them, but you just kind of have to look up and see what they've actually been doing this season. And with Fernando, despite the fact that he's, the average is there, he's just not doing much damage. I mean, he's the 8th ranked member of that team at the moment, but none of that's going to matter because he's clearly going to have 2 or more total bases tomorrow and hit a home run, and Eric's going to be rich. So look forward to hearing about that on Monday. Look forward to doing our Destiny Draft on Monday, round number 2. If you haven't done so already, do like and subscribe to the podcast and head to baseballexpass.com. Check out the Destiny Draft scoreboard from round 1. You can check out the database that we've been referencing. And we will see you on Monday for Destiny Draft round number 2. But until then, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your baseball. Bye, everybody.